Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the commission sections. And then I know this section will also broadcast to USR Summit. Hello, the participant from USR Summit. And then for this section, actually, it's the last sections of the community sharing. And then for last today, we have the NGO partner from Cambodia, also from Vietnam, to share the community, how they had their work over there. And for today, we are very happy to have Dr. Martina Jordaan here. She is from South Africa. So she will talk a lot more about how the community from South Africa look like. And actually, for this conference, this is our first time to meet Martina in person. And before we worked together for a few years, but everything is just online. And then from our experience, we're working with Martina, and then she is really risk-taking, and then she's very passionate on serving the communities. Why I'm saying that is because before we have a lot of different idea, like working with 360-degree camera, shipping to South Africa, control all this kind of technology, doing digital storytelling. And then Martina, the first answer is yes. Everything is really, even we are not uncertain, is that possible for us to teach all the technology full online? Then Martina always says yes to us, and then we try, and then it's really good, good experience for us. And then even though the student from South Africa bring a live stream VR to us, is going to Zoom in South Africa, the Lorry Park, and then our students enjoy a lot. Even under COVID, with this pandemic, we can virtually visit the animals in South Africa. And then even a student, driving a long way to the countryside, and then broadcast some zebra across the road, and then let us, our students, enjoy it. So without no more delay, and then let's welcome Dr. Martina Jordaan, and to share a lot more about her communities.
Thank you very much. And I'm always impressed with all the projects you're doing. So I've got now a fight about December's drone project. It's really a high popularity thing. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about the community I'm working in. I'm in the community I'm going to share with you. Let's go on. I'm working at Mamelodi in Pretoria, and that's a township next to Pretoria. So I'll give you a little bit of feedback. That's Mamelodi. And then if you don't know where's Pretoria, and then we have South Africa. And then I'm working for the University of Pretoria, and then at the Mamelodi campus. So I will have some slides that I repeated on Wednesday. Unfortunately, I do apologize for that. So first of all, I want to share with you what is the Mamelodi community. So we have townships in South Africa. And if you look at the townships, where it comes from, in the apartheid regime, the blacks and the coloreds and the Indians were moved in different areas around a city. So we have, for instance, around Pretoria, 3 townships, Mamelodi, Atteridgeville, and Soshanguve. So it's black communities. Then we have a community where they moved the coloreds, Eersterus, and a community where they moved the Indians, Laudium. After 1994, it was now allowed for us to move to any community you want to live in. You're not forced in this. So this community, Mamelodi, was created in 1953, and it was because of apartheid that the community was forcefully moved into that area. So there is mainly black people living there. I met a few white people that do live there, but it's mainly 99% black people living in Mamelodi. And this community is mainly Sepedi speaking people. So we have 11 official language, 12 now. 12 with sign language is our 12th one, official languages. And this is, we actually have more languages, but this is then one of the languages speaking. So for instance, a school across the campus is speaking Tonga. That's another language that we have in the community. And there is about 56 schools in that specific community, in that specific township. So I can't reflect on what's happening in Northwest, but I can give you my feedback, what's happening in my community. So it's a really diverse community, from really very serious poverty to really good houses. They love to eat spartlo, that is white bread with French fries in it. But if you want to treat yourself, you put the bologna in, or you put bacon in, or you put cheese in, and then it gets more expensive. So it's extremely unhealthy, but we talk about spartlo. But if you go to another community, they will call it the panichau, and another community, and it's actually the same thing, but in Mamelodi, we call it spartlo. And then they've got a good, really big soccer team, Mamelodi Sundowns, but you can see that it's really diverse. We've got very good houses, really very serious poverty, because people believe they rather come to the city because our unemployment is very high, and their chance to get a job in the city is much better than the chance to get a job in the rural areas where there's no jobs. So that's the diversity that you can see. And we also have some houses that the government provide, the RDP houses. And that's the houses on the left top side that you can see. And then the nice houses, the structured houses. So the Mamelodi campus is situated in the middle of this township. It makes it a wonderful place to work in the community. I did indicate that we have a number of campuses, and they are all situated over Pretoria, and one is in Johannesburg, and then Mamelodi next to Pretoria. So what is really great, there's the campus. So the road next to the campus, on the right-hand side is the informal settlement, and on the left-hand side, where we are situated, are structured brick houses. So we are next to the informal settlement, making it a wonderful place for people to walk to us and to come and work in the community. So there you can see the brick houses, and then there's the campus. So in our campus, we identified these niche areas. And my focus on this campus is mainly broadening educational pathways, but there are also niche areas, other niche areas on the campus. For instance, the entrepreneurship is very strong, the arts and culture is very strong, and the science is very strong. So I did show you this picture before, but this is to show the anchor strategy that we have. We have this campus with the idea that we are an anchor campus in the middle, anchor strategy. So on the campus, there are a number of faculties already active involved, like the economic science with the business hub. The theology is very busy with the NGOs. And then we've got the occupational therapist that's involved, the psychology is involved, and the preschool and the education are involved. And then I do certain projects with some of them, but if they come with a request, then I assist them. But I usually listen to what the community wants. So I also assist if the community, I've got a strong network with the preschools on a WhatsApp group, because that's my best communication with the community. You WhatsApp them. They don't read emails, but the WhatsApp work. And then if they say to me they don't know anything about cybersecurity, then I get an academic and he come and talk to them with the preschools or the primary schools or whatever. And in the process, we try to work a lot with all the stakeholders, including the Gauteng Education Department, that's the provincial education department, the city of Tshwane, and we've got the Mamelodi Collaborative, where everyone is involved together in decision making. We also started networking with international partners. I just added the ones that I'm specifically working a lot with. And then this last few years, a lot of projects, of course, with Hong Kong PolyU, and thank you for that. And through that projects, I started focusing heavily on e-community work or e-service learning. My reason for that is that it's, for me, easier to organize, and I'm feeling much not so worried about the safety of the students. That aspect I can delete. I don't need to worry about safety. There's also other things are happening on the campus. So the business hub got a vegetable garden where the community then work and they sell the vegetables for a profit. So it's an entrepreneurial project. Then I also started on the STEM Sensory Garden project. I will share that. We've got a music group, Tape Aids for the Blind, and there's needlework ladies doing needlework, and they sell their products that they're making. So why I started focusing on the educational pathways is because we have a lot of challenges with regard to education in South Africa. One of the problems that I experience intensely, and that's why I would, if I work with Hong Kong, can only actually usually try to get 14 years and 15-year-old kids involved, is because they start with mother tongue and then they go over to English. And then in the end, they will write their final exams in English. But the teachers tend to go back to mother tongue a lot. So I tried, for instance, a project with grade 7s, and I really struggled with the English. So that was really difficult when I work with a primary school. And then we had a big problem with COVID, that the learners in the township never had the opportunity to go online. There was just not that facilities. So they got really behind with their education. So sorry about that yellow, it looks terrible. So I'm focusing on the preschools and then the primary schools. We've got the secondary project, and then the campus focus. Why the campus is there is for the extended curriculum programs. So the extended curriculum programs is to help students that didn't get into the main campus, give them another year to improve their marks, so that they then at the end can go to higher education. It doesn't need to be University of Pretoria, but any other higher education. So they get additional year to get to mainstream. If they can't, then they go to another university. So I just want to touch this, that you understand there is students on campus, there's lecturers on campus, there's academic program running. So we have the curriculum extended curriculum program. And it's got mainly two groups of faculties involved. The one is the economic sciences and the other one is the natural sciences. And the students then have a number of courses that already credit for them when they go into mainstream. And there is 2 phases, that they first be on the campus and then systematically go to the next campus, the big campus. We have about 63,000 students, so it's a huge, huge university. Then there's the high school program, and that's where I'm relatively mostly involved with Hong Kong, for instance, PolyU, and that's the pre-university academy. So this idea of the pre-university academy is to get the students that's really strong in the schools, but does not have the potential, or they might not get to higher education, to give them another additional support that when they want to apply to university or higher education, their marks are good. So it's a Saturday school where they then attend classes, and they then, and it's mainly focused on STEM. So on the Mamelodi campus, there's 2 groups coming in, the grade 8s and 9s, because it's a very young project. You will see it's not going on to grade 10, 11, and 12 yet. Next year, we're moving, 11 and 12, we're moving up. But it's a very young program and a young project. So I'm using the grade 8s and 9s on the Mamelodi campus for my e-community work. So the first projects that I enjoy doing, and I think it's a really great project, is the e-service learning projects. And I did show you on Wednesday a little bit about this, so I didn't decide to take all the pictures out. So originally I started with Hong Kong, had to buy webcams, had to buy headsets because we have computer labs and wonderful computer labs, but no webcams and no headsets. So I had to verify why I want to do this. And then it was really a success. That was the day when they went into the Laurie Park Zoo with them, with the cameras and everything. So it was really great. And thereafter, I rolled out more projects. So we had another project with Hong Kong in January, for robotics in July, and then now in December. Because of the success of these projects, it was much easier to sell it to other universities. It was extremely easy to say, look, this is working, we can do this. Because of COVID, we had a problem, all the universities couldn't visit. The other issue is also South Africa is really far. It's really expensive to get there. So a lot of the universities were very eager to start doing projects like this because the transport is not included, but the students still get the experience. And thereafter, I had now 2 projects with University of Florida. That's working very well. And then a big culture exchange project that I had with Merrimack, a university from Iraq, Morocco, and India, and we're working on another one for next year. So every project is selling the next project. So that helps a lot to establish a little portfolio for yourself to say, this is working, this is what I learned, this is not working, we don't do this like this. And out of that, I could develop more and more partnerships. And people, and I'm not worried about the student safety, I'm just worried about the network. That's the only thing. So the other project I also embarked on was the digital storytelling projects. And because I've got access to the computer lab, I can give students and the community opportunity to do things that they can't do usually. So people do have computers. Unfortunately, the schools don't have computers, mainly because of that it gets stolen. So I know of one school in Mamelodi that has a computer lab, but he's got laptops that he picks up in the end of the day and he put it in his safe. So there's no computer labs for most of the kids. However, our community all have cell phones. They're very clued up on WhatsApp, internet and everything, but they don't know how to use the keyboard. For instance, we will also do basic computer training just to teach them that skill, but they actually know the whole internet story. So the digital storytelling projects is various projects that we have used cloud-based video editing software. So it originally started with the idea that when I realized that the township didn't have its history recorded. If you Google Mamelodi, you will not really find anything except one guy that wrote a book. And everyone does not buy books these days. And then I met old men that's really passionate about their history and their community. And they wanted to record it, but they want to write a book. And I said, who of you are buying books? Who of you reading books? And they with myself, we sit together and we decided we're going to put everything on the cloud. So that was one story. I'll tell you more about that. And then also we started giving the other clinics on campus the opportunity to record their stories. We have the COSAP guys there. That's a substance abuse group. And these guys would tell their stories, how they got on substance and how to take it off this. And it's actually a good therapy for them. So that was a really good story. And then at the end, what I also started doing with them was to give teachers the opportunity to develop resources for their classrooms. So that is a very nice project that I'm working with. The Historical Society of Mamelodi is this group of old, passionate men about their history. They're 70, 75, and they want to record their stories. They were part of this group that was forcefully removed, and they can remember this. And they're very worried that their stories will get lost. And therefore, they, with myself, they're part of my research team. They are part of my ethical group. They're doing research with me. I'm not the researcher doing it with them. They are doing it with me. They present a webinar with me now already, and we're going to present a conference together, are recording stories. So we invite people and they tell their stories and record their stories. So what is really great of this is that it systematically grew to more things, my digital storytelling project, where I thought originally it would be only the history stories. It also became the substance abuse. It also became the primary schools. It also became the extended program. So that was really great. Then we got the BA Honours tourism students involved because they need, I thought, why are you doing tourism? And you're doing tourism of Pretoria and DS Mamelodi that want their stories to be told. And they did the Greek story maps. And this is the wonderful software where you have a Google map and you can then indicate in the Google map what is happening at every point. So the community did this with the students. They did the research with the students, and the students at the end created the story map. So in the process, we got more departments involved, and I'm now talking to somebody in Italy because I think it's really great to get other people's input on also on this. Then we have the sensory garden on campus. Now, what happened with the sensory garden, it was created by the engineering students for the community project with the occupational therapist, but nobody took ownership of it. And unfortunately, a garden is a live thing. You can't just plunk something there and then they thought somebody will continue with this and nothing happened, unfortunately. So I took it over, and then we started with the community and the preschool teachers teaching this really dynamic group of preschool ladies in the community how to start their own little gardens in their preschools. The yards in the houses are extremely small. And usually the teachers would cement it to keep it clean. So the kids don't have any interaction with any plants, usually. And through this project and through their enthusiasm, they started little small gardens where the kids can smell and touch and feel and plant their own spinach and eat their own spinach and things. So that's what the last project what I did. So again, involving as many partners as possible, and I had some US partners involved, especially in this project. So the question that I do always get is, you white? What are you doing there? How long have you been in South Africa? So let me answer your questions. First of all, I'm Afrikaans. So I'm seen usually as, oh my goodness, you are one of the people that started apartheid. So that I agree with you. I'm white and I speak Afrikaans. I work in a community that's different from my community, that I come from and that I know. So there is a lot of challenges for me. How do I work in a Black community speaking another language? And I must tell you, I can actually greet in Sotho and I can say a few words, but I can't say much more. But I've been working in townships from 1997. How do you do this? So that is a big challenge. So I don't know the community always very well, and every township actually differs, because I worked in another township for years at Richville that were mainly Northern Sotho speaking people with a different attitude. And this community now is more of a variety of cultures. So the one thing is important for me is that I must have a wonderful champion. So I've got Reverend Nkomo. For any advice, I will go to him. What would you suggest I do? Do you think I can work with these people? Because he's been living in this community forever. And he always gives me the right advice. He also networked me to the specific people. And I try to work as good as possible with all my networks and all my champions that I've got. So that's a very important thing for me to be able to work in the community. Otherwise, I would work with the wrong fraction or the wrong group, and then the other group is upset with me because I'm working with this group and not with that group. So this is a challenge, but that's how I overcome this. I told Grace the other day, when I get into a community, they always speak to me in English. Everyone speak, we always joke in South Africa, we speak, our official language is bad English. Because every one of us can speak English, but not proper. You can hear I speak with a heavy Afrikaans accent. And sometimes I translate my words from Afrikaans to English. That's not really good. But if I worked in my community, the day they start speaking to me Afrikaans, I know they accepted me. If they keep on speaking to me English, most of us know some Afrikaans words. And as soon as they speak to me any Afrikaans word, then I know, now I'm fine. And they are extremely, our community is very, very wonderful. There's just little tricks that I learned. If I'm talking to my community, I would say a child is as big as this. But if I go in my Black community, I will say a child is as big as this. Because I will say the children, then I will talk about the children. Because if I talk about the children, they will not grow further. But in the Black community, you say a child is as big as this. Do you agree? She's agreeing. So I would immediately change my how I address my community. That's one other thing that I also make very sure that they know why I'm here, what is expected from them, what will they receive. If I don't have funding for a project, I inform them from the beginning. I'm so sorry, but there's no funding. Whatever we do, we are doing just to learn, or there's no food. I immediately say there's no catering available, that they know from the beginning what is there. I'm extremely transparent on what is happening. That's very important for me. And then I attend as many community meetings as possible, because we have a strong group in our country of non-profit organizations. That's like a net in the country. That's catching all these things the government can't do. We have this wonderful, wonderful NGO groups that's working there, and they're doing magnificent work. So I'm very into them and make sure that I'm involved with any NGO. So the NGOs are the backbone of the township, I would say. So that's also very important. Then, of course, what is very important for me the last few times is that with any project that I take on, my community became part of my research team. I'm not the researcher, the community, they receive. We sit together and we actually work on the research plan together. We co-researchers. They can become part of my ethical clearance application. They can become part of my article that I publish. So it's not anymore me and you. You are part of this whole thing that we are doing in the community. And that's very important for me, because then they take ownership. They don't see me as coming in with a group of students, doing something and leaving and say, cheerio, thank you, now we're writing it up. Thank you very much. It's very important that they see this whole process, that they are actually part of this whole planning, this whole process, this whole research outputs. Even if I put them in the back, at the bottom. And if I take now the Historical Society, this guys that was so, I'm working really with very intelligent people. The one is a principal, the one is a reverend. It's not stupid people. They live in Mamelodi. They're extremely clever. And they actually gave me much more advice than I can ever expect. But it was very important for me that they realized how important, how high I acknowledge the knowledge and how deeply I appreciate what they are doing. So that is very important for me that I do this. But I document all. I don't say stuff. I make sure that it's written down. We have proper meetings. We document it and we say, this is how it's happening, and be as transparent as possible. So this is my experience. I think if I probably black, I've got a new director, she's black, and she comes from that community. That makes it much easier for her to talk out of a whole different perspective. Whereas I come as a white person speaking Afrikaans, but living in this land that we want to build. So I always feel what I'm doing for me is I'm building bridges, because there's still a big culture divide. There's still a big financial divide between the haves and the have-nots, between the whites and the blacks. And everything that I feel I'm doing, I'm building a bridge to say, let's build this country further together, because you will know our unemployment is really high. We've got really big challenges, financial challenges, really big challenge in the country. But if we can't work together, we can't build it. And that's my story. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the sharing from Dr. Martina Jordaan. And then I think Martina really set a very good example and model for us to how we can really integrate the work from higher education, the work in community, and then also teaching and also research. Every part, how to integrate everything together. And now let's start the Q&A sections. And anyone here physically attending the conference here, have any question would like to share, comment, or ask Martina here?
I would like to get a comment from my South African colleague. What is her opinion? She's working in another part of the country with other challenges and other dynamics.
Yes, it's not really another part of the country, it's the same province actually, because I am at the Vaal campus.
Oh, you're in the Vaal campus,
yes,
okay. But
so the Vaal campus is in the same province as the University of Pretoria. I think you're doing wonderful work, especially in Mamelodi, especially with the students, the high school learners, the exposure that they get from the project. And I know in the schools, the Department of Education, it supplies them with computers, but they get stolen. So they don't have much. If all those computers are stolen, then they struggle again. And I think this is really wonderful. But the project that I liked most is the one that you were telling us about, the one about digital stories. And I was thinking, oh, that is a wonderful idea, because again, I know that those stories are not documented. So it's very much important that we go there. I think that is how you not only help you individuals in the community, but you helping the whole community by making sure that those stories are captured and they are preserved. That stories are a culture, so you are preserving their culture as well, and I think that is wonderful.
I think it's really important also to see that when people tell their personal stories, they would say, but this is not history. Why would I talk about this? I said, but you're part of history, talk about this. And there is a little bit of healing in the process, because some of them are still very sore about being removed when they were 8 years old out of an area into another area. So it's not healed yet. So that whole process to talk about their personal story also healed them a lot. So I agree with you. That is a really good, and I think we are not recording stories. We think personal stories is that my community thought personal stories is not history. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other question on the floor here? Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Well, I was very interested to know more about the cultural exchanges with Florida, with Iraq. What do these exchanges consist in? How long do they last? How many and which students are involved?
Okay, that is, remember, that is done without a budget, so I must tell you. So the one with the 5 countries, we had 5 weeks of sessions, and we had 25 students that were divided in 5 groups, and every group of students had a specific topic on culture. So it was 5 students from 5, it was India, Iraq, Morocco, the USRN, and South Africa. But I had now a Xhosa student in the group and an Afrikaans student, an English student talking to Sotho kids. So that was also a little bit different. And they had to prepare then the session with the kids, and the kids had also to share their culture with the students. So it was they made it really very interactive, and the students have then an hour and a half session with the kids. It was actually very interesting because one assignment, I remember they said, bring something personal from your home that is representing your culture. And we gave everyone a chance, and the one little boy was sitting like this, and I said, do you have something? And he's opened up his jacket, and there was the beads, and the Ndebele beads that his mom gave him, and he was so proud of this. But he could share this with the students. And because we had now Morocco and Iraq, that the kids didn't know anything about. They could identify a lot with America and with India, but not with Morocco and Iraq. It was really wonderful for them. So after the 5 weeks, we said, it's the end, here's a certificate for attendance, well done, thank you, we appreciate your attendance. And then the next week they pitched again. So they were all sitting in the room waiting for us, even though we ended the program, actually. So the University of Florida was more America to South Africa culture exchange, so it's not so intense. But I think the other one with the 5 countries was much more. The interesting thing that I found when the 5 students, for me, I kept on thinking it must be the learners, the kids that learned a lot. But when we reflected, the 5 students from the different countries in one group that had to work on a project together actually learned much more. Because we didn't supervise them, we gave them the topic and say, you do the research, you work out the program, you're going to have now 30 kids busy, keeping them busy. And how they did the logistics and how they learned from each other about everything, about how you handle a project, how you work around your timeframes. Those students learn much more than the learners in the process.
Hello, Martina. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I am Mark from the Ateneo. Actually, I have 3 questions, but I'll narrow it down into 2 and ask the third question later. The first question, I'm really interested about the enrichment program that you do with marginalized students who are not able to enter university education. So you do an enrichment program. How long does it take for them to undergo through this program? And I would like to know more the role of PolyU in that program. And the second question would be, I would like to know more about the digital stories. What are the example outputs of the participants in this, and how long does it take for them to create those digital stories?
Good. So the extended curriculum program is actually why the Mamelodi campus is there. So this is, Hong Kong is not involved with this. This is between grade 12, that's the end of the school, and then allowing them to get into the mainstream. So it's a year-long program, and they get then a little bit more physics or mathematics or economic science. It's a proper academic year that they attend, doing all the courses, and then for some of the courses, they do get credits. And then they, at the end of the academic year, then they apply to medicine or engineering or economic science or wherever they want to go. So then they apply to the specific courses that they can then attend on the main campus. So Hong Kong is not at this stage involved, but we can always discuss anything. So the digital stories it's a new project with me. So I train them, the community, for 3 days. And during the 3 days, they create then a story. So that is what we're doing. So most of them don't want to upload it on YouTube. It's personal stories. So it's a very easy software that I bought, WeVideo. I got the license for WeVideo. That they actually, you must remember, if they come to me, they actually don't know a keyboard or a mouse. So they can work on their cell phones and their WhatsApps, but they don't know a keyboard and a mouse. So I don't really have time to teach them now the skills, basic computer skills, but the WeVideo at least give them the option just to click and drag something. So I need to teach them for about 10 minutes how to click and drag, and then they can do the program. So that's how easy it is. Whereas I know my first Zoom session, I was very worried, and I took them for a day before and made sure that we can all go into Zoom. So one of the projects that I also know that was with Merrimack College was that my preschool ladies were trained by Merrimack College on certain aspects of preschools. And the lecturer were on the other side. The ladies were all in this room. And I first had to teach them how to Zoom, because in the whole room of 30, only one lady ever Zoomed before. And that was a bit of a challenge to teach them now how to type their name in. Then I remember what the lecturer said, who of you have a question? And everyone's quiet. I stood up and said, who's got a question? Who's got a question? A very old lady put up, I've got a question. I've got a question. And then I had to help her unmute. And then the lecturer said, Mondile, what's your question? She said, oh, how do you know my name? But we helped her to type in her name. So she was very amazed about this very, very clever American lecturer that knows everyone's names. But when I talked to her the next week, I said to her, okay, you went now through lots of training. I took her even to a preschool. I said, you went to all this training. What was the best day? She said, when that lecturer answer my question, that was the best. So that is interesting for me. So I'm enjoying the software. It's really easy. That made the difference.
Yeah, thank you. And then maybe we can take the last questions here.
Sure. Thank you for your presentation. My name's Miles. I'm from Vinh University in Hanoi. So I imagine for the digital storytelling, it seems like a really interesting way to portray these messages and these stories. Do you find that, maybe initially, I think you alluded there was some hesitation or going into the community, but now that you're kind of there and you're doing all these practices, is there a lot more interest in the storytelling? You have these different people who are coming in who want to tell their story. I know right now you have, I think, the older men, but are there other kind of populations or groups of people who are also interested? Or I guess what's the future of this, or what's the next kind of step, or getting more into those kinds of ideas as well?
I agree with you. It's really interesting, but you must remember my office is me. So that's the office. Okay. So that's how huge the office is. So I've got the whole admin help, and that's the office. So I'm working on getting somebody. It's always about funding, but we have now what a request, interesting request that I received from the community, and especially the historical societies, that they want to do research. They don't know how to do desktop research. That was an interesting request. And now we are presenting, I'm asked my colleague to help me at desktop research. How do you do desktop research? How do you write a reference? They were very adamant about this. And I was really amazed that I've got this huge interest in this topic that I thought it's not a really relevant topic, and they are really interested to do the desktop research. So the plan is to roll out this training, but I thought by now at least I would have my old men to be more competent to teach other people, but I see they're not so competent yet. I still need to guide a lot. So I was under the impression that I could delegate it to them, that they can train. But I hope next year at this time, when I tell you this, I will have more stories.
Thank you very much, because of the interest of time, I think we almost reached the end of the community sharing. Yeah, but after hearing all the story, all the works that Dr. Martina Jordaan is working on, we always feel that she is really passionate on the township and passionate on her communities. And then, as you know, the office that Martina working is not really that big. And then in this case, if you have any ideas that working together, please feel free to contact Martina, and then we can always work together. From our experience, when the last 2 years working with Martina, all the experience is really amazing. Not only her, but also her students. Especially when we are coming up some of the courses that we require the student from Pretoria to join us for the whole 13 weeks of teaching. Actually, because of time difference, and then the student from South Africa joining is 3 a.m. And then the student never missed the class. And then joining from 3 to 5 a.m., attending the class, very active, discussing. And I'm sure if you really work with Martina, with her students, you will always feel the passions, how they engage to learning, and then you will have a great working experience altogether. Yeah, I think that's come to the end of the last community sharing. I think this is also the last sections of the ICSL conference. And then for later on, we will have some closing. And then, please feel free to make use of the room here, the space, the time, and then discuss with each other, exchange your content. If anything you need help, feel free to just contact us. Thank you. Thank you.